Good morning, everybody. This is John Barrows with Make It Happen Monday. Hopefully, you all had a fantastic weekend, and I'm here with my good friend and colleague, obviously, Morgan Ingram. Morgan, what's going on, man?
What's going on, guys?
How was your weekend?
Weekend was good. I saw Black Panther, so I'm super
Ooh, how was
hyped.
that?
It was incredible. It was
Really?
amazing. I almost got on a plane and tried to find Wakanda to become Black Panther because that's how it was. If you have not seen it, you really should. The visuals, everything was incredible. The storyline, the way that they did it, is probably one of the best movies that I've seen in a while. It was
Wow.
really good. It was really
All
good.
right. That's impressive. It's on my list, but I'm going to put it up there now. So just to introduce everybody here for today's topic, I wanted to chime in and why Morgan's here again. Um, this one's going to be about personal branding and who do you want to be online. And the reason I bring it up is because a little while, probably about 2 weeks ago at this point, I posted a very simple question on LinkedIn, and it wasn't actually meant to get a huge response, but it was oddly enough my highest viewed post in a long time. So, and all it was I recently hit 200,000 followers on LinkedIn, like not 200,000 connections, but 200,000 followers, right?
Mm.
And part of the reason is because, I was a super early adopter on LinkedIn. I think I was member 30,132 or something like that. And so, obviously being an early adopter, now there's however many millions of people on LinkedIn. I got to that level. And I remember earlier they had this influencer program where once you hit a certain status, they could, it was, okay, you became an influencer according to LinkedIn, and you were able to put like a logo on your website or on
Mhm.
your profile. So the only question I was, hey, does anybody know about anything about that influencer program? And it was a genuine question looking for an answer. I had Googled it and I didn't really find anything out there. And it exploded. I mean, last time I looked at it, there were over 120,000 views, which is bananas. Usually I'm getting, 30,000, 20, 40,000, something like that.
So that's huge.
Right. So 120,000, which is like 3, 4, 5x what I'm usually getting. But what struck me was, and there's probably about 100 comments on there. And as I was looking through the comments, at least 2/3 of them were snide remarks, people just, trying to be witty and just straight up dogging influencers. They weren't dogging me. I know they weren't saying, no, John, you're a douche for being like that. They were just dogging quote unquote influencers. And Morgan, you and I have talked about this, about the hatred. So probably about 6 months ago, there was this swarm of people beating up SDRs, right? Like people just shitting on SDRs all day long, being like, hey, look at this crap email, blah, blah, blah. Now it feels like it's shifted to this visceral hatred for influencers. And one of the things I wanted to tap into you, Morgan, to get your perspective on why. And second of all, we're going to talk about what it means when you're starting to put such negative stuff out there on other people's comments, no value add comments. What does that do to your personal brand, right? So
Yeah.
first of all, I'm going to flip it over to you, Morgan. Talk to me about are you seeing the same trend? I mean, because we've talked about it, but why do you think there's such people making fun of or crapping on influencers, and why do you think there's such a backlash to that right now?
Yeah, I got a couple things to that. So I'll start off when I first started making content and I made myself visible to the world. So it was about 4 years ago. And yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, Facebook had just unlocked their native videos to the platform. So same thing as LinkedIn. So this has happened before. And what a lot of people started doing is posting the same type of videos, same type of content to Facebook, and people got a lot of backlash for that. Like I personally got a ton of backlash for it because I had just graduated college. So most people are like, oh, you graduated college. Like, why are you talking about all these things? Like, what's going on? But I was genuinely excited about the information that I was learning and the things that I was going through a transformational period in my life where I just started to realize that I needed to do a lot more than I already was doing. And I was on a good path, but this kind of accelerated me to that next level.
Yeah.
And so I faced a ton of backlash, ton of things. And I think it's because people don't like seeing people trying to advance themselves when they don't feel like that person has accomplished anything. That's kind of my perceived notion. So if someone is just only has like 2 years of experience and they're talking, they feel like they don't deserve the right to be talking on that stage. And okay, I get that. Okay, that's cool. But my thing is, I don't think that's right for someone just to comment and be like, oh, like this is da 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 da,
Mhm.
because my thing is, if you haven't, posted maybe daily content, or you are coming up with that mindset, it's not an easy thing to do, to come up with content every single day. It's an ongoing pendulum that you have to overcome. And I also do believe that a lot of those people who end up saying those things are people that are on the sideline. So my example that I give to people that don't want to start content because they're afraid of what other people are going to say, which is very valid, because it happens to me, it happens to you as well. No matter how high you go, happens to every single person. Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone, all these people get flack even though they're at the top of their career. And so you have to realize, I always go back to basketball, is that when you're shooting free throws, there are some people who are booing you, right? And there are some people who are like, you suck, you're not good, but they're not in the game with you. They're not doing those procedures. So I feel like, yes, to answer that question on the later front, this shift has happened where instead of bashing SDRs, I don't even see that much anymore. More people are elevating sales development now more than ever, actually. It's become bashing influencers. The real reason that's happening is because there are a lot of people making videos that aren't preparing themselves to make the video. They're making videos just because they want to be seen and not because they're bringing value to their audiences. And they're not talking about practical things to help LinkedIn overall. So that's why I feel like there's a lot of backlash from the community on this.
Yeah. And that's why, and I want to talk about this because, I think it's important, sharing just to share, I think is stupid. You know what I mean? Just sharing just to get followers and that type of thing is a bad idea. Sharing value. And this is what we're trying to get to with this conversation is, for you, look, you're 25. I could easily see, and look, I've actually had people tell me like, who the hell does this Morgan kid think he is before I hired you, right?
Yeah.
Peers of mine in the industry, like we would get together, they would call me up, and we had a couple of conference calls where the topic of discussion was, we're us 40 somethings and above, like we've been there, done that. We have experience that is worth sharing. But yet you got all these kids coming out, sharing all sorts of stuff and kind of taking credit, or either sharing stuff that might not be good. And your name was brought up as part of that. And I said, well, I'm going to push back on you a little bit here, because first of all, I don't care how old you are, you can share content. It's how you do it and with what the mindset is. And my perception, and I'd like to hear from you about how, or was there a mental commitment to this? There's people out there that just share content, again, just to get followers, right? Because and they don't even read the content that they share. It's a pretty good headline. They see a few other people kind of shared it, so they're like, oh, cool, let me put my stamp on this one. Because I've always said, you don't have to be the creator of content out there. You have to be the curator of content.
Of course.
Because if I write a blog post, which is a pain in the ass to write, right? If I write a blog post and you read it and you share it, and you have, when your followers read my article, they thank you. They don't thank me. I might get a few extra people following me, but they say, oh, thanks so much, Morgan, for sharing that valuable piece of content. So you actually don't even have to be it, right? But there's people out there who are putting themselves in that position to take credit for that work versus others, which my perception of you was, you never really put yourself out there to be a thought leader. What you did was you went out there and you read a book, you read an article, you learned something, then you applied it to your day-to-day job.
Right.
And then you created a video about it, about what you learned from that experience, good or bad. So you were like, look, I read this book or I tried this thing, I applied it in my day-to-day job, and this is what happened, good or bad, right? And that was the theme that you kept pushing out there to me, which was not necessarily saying, hey, look at everybody, how smart I am. It was, hey, look at everybody, I'm trying this stuff out. I don't know whether it works or not, but I just applied it and it either did or it didn't work. So you might want to give it a shot. Was there a mental, so with that, am I correct? B, was there something that you mentally said when starting to share content of what your approach was? And your thought process around not just getting followers, but by putting value out there?
Yeah. So it actually goes way back to 2011. So when I graduated high school, it was like super throwback. So
you're talking to me about 2011 graduating high school assholes.
Yeah, it'd be major throwback for you. For me, it's like
1994 on my end. Shit.
So back when I graduated high school, my mom gave me a book and it talks about how to get your dream job. And it goes through the different ways you can connect with other people that are executives and people that, more so you would never go find. So I did that, connected with them, had conversations with them, asked them questions. And they always told me the same thing at the end of the call. And the end of the call was, if you're going to put yourself out there, you need to do that because that's how you're going to get yourself known. And
you need to do what? You need to do what? If you're going to put yourself out, you need.
I'm about to go into that. I'm about to go into that. So he said, and they told me is that when you do that, you need to make sure that you bring relative information and takeaways and value to the audience, and not try to game the system and figure out how can I get all these followers, how can I get all those things? Because it was like the time where social media was like starting to arrive. Mm-hmm. And they also told me that you have to continuously give back information that you learn, because that one takeaway that you had could be the game changer for that person's career. And context, like, these people are very successful, like owner of the Atlanta Hawks, VP of sales at the NBA, general manager at Fox Sports South. So these people have seen major success. They've have a lot of experience in their career. And they always told me that you need to continuously pass the elevator down, because you may have information that someone may be able to resonate with. Yeah. And so from someone, my standpoint, just graduated college, may not have a lot of experience, my message will most likely resonate with people who are going through the same things as me. So maybe what John can say the same exact thing as me, but it may not resonate with someone who just got out of college, because like, yo, you've already graduated college, you're way ahead of my career, like that's cool. But my standpoint was that I want to be able to give the value that those other mentors gave me. And I felt that was an obligation, because they really poured that into me. Like, hey, look, if you don't give this information to someone else, like, we're going to be disappointed in you. Yeah. And so I didn't want to disappoint those people that took 20, 30 minutes out of their day when they could be doing 1,000 other things. And they talked to this guy from college who just wanted information. So my content was always derived from stuff that I actually do on a daily basis, stuff that I tried that hasn't worked, and things that I see that are going to happen in the future, and also things that I know that works that's going to help people in the long run. And I never tried to think about what's the thought leader or whatever, because I never said that, or don't even pertain myself as that at any rate.
Cool, man. I had a very similar experience in the sense that with the first group, when I first started in business, right out of school, there was these networking groups that I would belong to, and the one that really got me my head right around this was the whole BNI, which is Business Networking International, which is a very structured, every city has one. And you go on a weekly basis where you meet with a group of business professionals, Friday morning or something like that, 7:30 to 8:30. And you go around and you share leads, right? And only one, so each, you could only have one person from each industry in the group, so you can't compete against each other. And the whole concept there was give leads, and not just, call these people. It's like, no, I told this person that they need your services, and they're waiting for your call. But their mantra was givers gain, which is the more you give, the more you get back. Right. And I think the philosophy around social right now, that has to be it, because too many people, to your point, are trying to game the system. They're trying to get, right. They're trying to gain followers. And really by using chatbots or all these different things to game that system, and not really giving any value out there, you're coming up with a hollow following. And that's, I always follow what Gary Vee says here on, he'd rather have 10 followers on Twitter, and if you tweeted something out, all 10 of them did something, versus 10 million followers and 2 people did something that he said, right?
Yeah, and that was the change of context, because I read Thank You Economy. So I've read every single Gary Vaynerchuk book. Yep. That one really stood out to me, because when I first started putting out content, the main focus for me was, like, back on Facebook, it was like, all right, like, likes, comments. I want to get myself out there, because I want to see, like, does my content resonate? And I was thinking about it in the wrong way. But then I changed my mindset 2-3 years in, after I read Thank You Economy, be like, what do I want my basis to be off of, right? So everyone has their own ranking systems. How many comments do they get? How many likes they get, shares? And obviously that's important, because you want to see, how is my content resonating with my audience? Right. How I gauge it now is purely based on who's messaging me, on what it's actually doing for them. So an example, someone's like, hey, look, I watched this video and it helped me get promoted to SDR manager. That's amazing. That's exactly what I want to hear. Or someone's like, hey, I watched the My Story video, the one that you watched. Yep. And they were like, best 17 minutes of my professional career. Yep. Whoa, okay, that's huge. That's worth way to me more than a like or comment. So those are things now that I try to focus on, is what are some things that are in my head that I gained from a mentor, I read in a book, I've gained from my own experience just by continuously learning every single day, that I can give to someone who may not be taking the time to learn every single day, or they're not there yet in their mindset, or they're not there yet in their career. So that's how I think about creating real influence that can move and impact people towards where they need to go.
And I think that, so we're talking about personal branding here. You know, what I also wanted, and what this post really got me to think about, which is, again, who are you online? So there's one thing about, you know, posting stuff, because I think you can be, you know, kind of position yourself as a thought leader when you are proactively sharing stuff out there, whether it's your content or somebody else's. But I think the true colors really come out when you see what people comment on other people's posts. Mm-hmm. And that's really what hit me with this one was, you know, that literally 2/3 of the comments were people being, you know, some snide ass remark or some sarcastic, you know, whatever. And look, I'm not going to say I'm a saint here on that. I've definitely thrown my zingers out there every once in a while and said some smart ass thing on somebody's post, but I don't do it consistently. And that's not my MO, if you will. My MO is if I see a post that I like, then I'm gonna try to either say, hey, you know, really good post, or if I disagree with it, say why I disagree with it, and give some constructive, you know, thought process around it. And that was only, you know, I'm looking at the numbers here, and there was only, out of the 100+ comments, I think there were maybe 17 or something like that, some real low number. The numbers changed, or 16, yeah, whatever. But there was such a small part that we're trying to at least add value to it. And so what I did was I started looking at these people who were talking shit, right? And the post that I'm actually writing a post on this one, it's coming out on Thursday. It's called Influencers, Haters and Trolls, Oh My. Right? Because there was a bunch of people on there who were trying to add value. Well, there was like 17 out of the 100 that were trying to add value. There was a whole bunch of just straight up haters. And then there was the inevitable trolls who were liking their own comments. When you like your own comment, by the way, you're a troll. But the hater piece, what I started doing was I started looking at those people's profiles. And I started seeing, you know, their activity. I went on LinkedIn. I took some time, you know, one night, and I just kind of started poking around. And it was inevitable that the majority of the people that had these snide ass remarks or these witty comments to make fun of my post, or influencers, if you will, that's what they were doing, right? So I would look at where they would comment, and it was always some snide remark. And so those people, what I ended up doing personally was I went on and unfollowed those people, or unconnected to those people, right? Because I don't want those people around me. And, you know, are you seeing people with that MO where they just talk shit all the time instead of adding value? And do you think that reflects personally and professionally as it relates to their business? Like, can they be somebody outside, or do their true colors almost always shine on social from your perspective?
That's a great question. I get some, you know, intriguing feedback sometimes. And my approach to every single one, I say thank you for the comment, and then I pretty much don't pay attention to it anymore, because I'm not trying to waste my time to. Here's the thing: for anyone that is looking to create content, or you're afraid, or this is what's going to happen to you, I'm going to tell you already. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care. Someone's going to comment, and they're going to try to bait you into this confrontational and toxic thing. Automatically. It doesn't, you said the most profound point, very articulate. Even if it's correct, they're going to troll you anyways. So what I do is say thank you for the comment. Now, here's the thing. If I say thank you for the comment, and then they message me and they like really want to have like a real conversation, that's great. But if I say thank you for the comment and they don't say anything more, then that person was just trying to troll me. And that's the only reason that they commented. So those people I normally just stay away from. Anyone who's trying to cause confrontation, I stay away from them, because I just don't see the need to really cause confrontational. Now, there's a difference between a confrontational topic where I might say like cold calling is not dead because people think cold calling is dead. That's different. That's not me trying to like cause stir. That's just what my belief is. But when there's people who intentionally try to find something to cause a toxic behavior, I normally stay away from those people, and I've unfollowed those people. And like, if I see them in person, then like, hi, but like, I know I'm not going to get deep with that person because I don't feel like they're genuine, because they're trying to cause drama all the time. And that's, to me, like, I've had drama in my life before, in high school and college, and I just doesn't pan out well. So I completely stay away from it. And I just never really resonate with people who are trolling and adding snide comments on LinkedIn, because it's across any social media, because I just don't think it's beneficial. You're not adding any value. I most likely don't want to hang out with you. So that's just me, though.
And I think that's the theme here of this, which is, look, it's okay. You want to be you online, right? You know, in social, you can't just be all business all the time.
Right.
And you don't want to agree with everything. I mean, it's not interesting when everybody agrees, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I put a post out there about, you saw it, like my daughter selling Girl Scout cookies, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't, thankfully, there wasn't one negative comment on that. Yeah, and it got tons of exposure, but everybody's
Right.
like, "Oh my God, she's so cute," that type of thing. So I wasn't, but you know, and I was very appreciative of everybody who commented on that.
Yeah.
But obviously, to the average person outside of her video, like the comments were not interesting. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
because there was no debate going on there. So I firmly believe that you should debate, you should disagree, you
Of
should
course.
have a voice, but you should do it in a constructive way about adding value, right? Because now unfortunately there's some people I now know by name that I never knew before, but I know them by name in a very negative way. So
Right. It's like not good.
yeah, and I got a bad memory. So, but
Yeah.
I there's some people that I now remember their name. And for instance, if they were to ever reach out to me personally, you know what I mean? Like hit me up with an email or ask a question on Make It Happen Monday, and I notice their name, I'd be like, sorry, dude, I ain't, you know, I know you're a troll here, so I'm not going to engage with you.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be known for a negative reason, I guess, is the point here when you're out on social. Which actually brings me to another interesting thing that I did specifically for you and your, because you grew up with social for the most part, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, high school, college, that was your world. I got introduced to social after the fact, right? I mean, you know, social really didn't start hitting until I was well into my 30s, or, you know, kind of into my 30s, give or take. And the brand building thing was really not hot until I was mid 30s. So the question I have for you is, as it relates to your social brand, if you will, you know, how can you be you without, you know, what's the threshold of you being you? And I ask that, you're easier, Morgan, because you're a wholesome kid. You don't swear all that much. You don't drink all that much, right? Whereas me, you know, I'm a little different, right? I got a little bit of a darker side in some cases. And I'm also, you know, and sometimes I get really, you know, in some cases super political with some of my debates with my friends on Facebook. So for me, the challenge has been, I always tried to keep my Facebook profile separate, like my personal Facebook profile separate, and everything else, LinkedIn, everything else was business. But then all of a sudden, you know, I made good friends with some people that I was business friends with. They actually became good friends, and then we started connecting on Facebook, and that opened up the floodgates to now everybody, because those people were now connected, and I was getting all these requests. So now I'm actually on my personal Facebook page. I'm still not the, you know, I'm still a little bit, you know, more Barrows version, like the personal guy version on Facebook. But I don't tee off on politics anymore. I don't tee off on any of that stuff anymore, because I know the impact that it could have when somebody sees that. I think we're, you know, as an example, we're in a world right now where politics, I don't care what side of the house you're on, as soon as you tell me you're on one side or the other, I immediately have a certain perception of you, right? And that perception might be a very negative thing. Like if you're on the side of the fence and I notice all of a sudden, oh my God, you support that. Like, oh my, like now my, you know, what I thought of you is thrown out the window. So my question for you is, at 25 years old, growing up in social, I think there's a lot of kids who are coming out who were themselves all the way through college, like doing bong hits and, you know, drinking, you know, getting shit housed and saying whatever the hell came out of their mind, right? Where now they're getting into the business world, and that's going to have an impact, because as an employer, right? Or as somebody who, you know, if a kid's trying to build their brand, and all of a sudden I start up looking, here's an example. I start looking at Morgan Ingram. I'm like, oh, this kid's interesting. He's putting out some SDR Chronicles. I like these. But then I do a little bit more digging, and I find out that in college you were like, you know, something like, holy crap, look at this kid, right? So I guess what kind of advice, or first of all, what's your thought process on the personal professional branding, and what platforms and how? But also, what are you telling that kid right now who has the, you know, who drank their way through college and probably did some embarrassing things on social, but is now trying to build their personal brand and business, right? And how do they make that switch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can resonate with this.
Is it a message thing? Is it a go delete all your old shit thing? Like, what is it?
Depends. It depends. So funny enough, like in college, like I went to UGA Athens. So there's like 100 bars. There's like 100 bars in Athens. So I went out a lot. So I'm like, who I was in college and who I am now is a completely different person. Got a lot more mature, figured out what I want to do. But I went out a lot in college. So obviously there might be some out there where I was just out and, you know, I was doing whatever. but I think you have to change your mindset when you get yourself in a professional setting. So there's just some things I don't really talk about. Like I don't talk about my personal life too much. Like I don't think everyone needs to know kind of what's going on every single day for the most part. I go to music festivals a good amount. I don't really talk. Oh, I don't post on LinkedIn. All right, I'm at the music festival. Like, I'm going to this concert tonight. You know, I'm not doing all that. So I think it's to some degree, obviously you need to have your personal life, share that on your Snap, share that on your Instagram. But I think it's like, don't get too crazy with it. You know, don't be like, all right, like we're all lit right now and let's Snapchat each other and put on a story. Like, that's not a smart move. Like, stay within the confines of what you're doing and be that person, but also be who you are. So like, there's some things I post that may not be professional. Like I post the music that I like. I get hype on Instagram and Snapchat when something good goes on. I dance to music. I talk about movies that I like Black Panther. Like I talk about that. I talk about how, hey, look, I want to get a Maserati. Like that's a pretty personal thing. So I could keep that to myself. I have a pretty loose, like on videos, I'm very loose. I'm not like, I don't have like a suit on in my videos. I try to keep it human so you know who I am. I try to keep that personal and conversational. So I think you have to just be super cautious in what you're in. So like being in the SaaS industry and being in the finance industry are two different things of procedures of how you're going to be handled. So you need to know your industry and what you're going into and what that really allows and what it doesn't allow. Because I know I could get away with posting a pair of socks from a SaaS company, but I don't think I'd be able to do that if I was working with a financial institution. I don't think I'd be able to do that. So I think you have to understand where you're at, but you have to always be yourself. Like there's some things that I'm going to say and there's some things that I'm going to do that are me, and I'm not going to stray away from that. But you also have to understand you can't be professing. Like, I think you can't be professing yourself in a goofy manner, like 100% of the time, unless you're trying to be a comedian. Yeah. So I think like, if you're not trying to be a comedian, don't do that. So my thing is that I try to give 80% of value on what can really help people. And 20% is me doing cool stuff. Like, okay, I'm telling you I'm going to music festival, but I'm not going to be like, all right, yeah, we're out here. Like my friend's doing keg stands. Like, you don't need to know that. Like, that doesn't matter. So I think you have to be very careful in every single instance with social media. You know, it is what it is now. It's maybe unfortunate for some people, but it is what it is. We have to be careful on what we're posting. We have to be careful on who we are, because one person can see it and be completely turned off. Yeah. But also don't not be yourself.
No, I think that's
time, because like Gary still curses up a storm. Yep. John still says what he's gonna say. Yep. And I'm still gonna say what I'm gonna say with my lingos. That's who I am, and I'm not gonna stop that. So I think you have to understand who you are in the confines of making it professional, but being serious. Like, people just need to know that you're serious when you can be serious and not see you as a joke. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think you're spot on as far as know your audience, right? And for those of you, I mean, there's actually, I saw a tool the other day that helps people actually clean up their social profile, if you will. So if you did,
like, delete their photos.
Delete their photo. I forget what it was. I'll try to find it and get to this. But what it does is it goes and tries to push up the kind of the business stuff that you're doing and really downplay the some of the negative things. So if there are some posts out there that if you Googled your name, you know, those things came up, it's actually a service that'll help you keep the good stuff up top and the bad stuff down bottom, right? Cool. So that's that one thing. But I think the idea here is also just understand the platform too. So you said kind of 80-20 rule, which I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule across the board. My approach is a little bit different. Like, I think I'm like, for instance, 90-10 on LinkedIn. Same thing with Twitter. Like 90-10 on LinkedIn and Twitter, I'm about 90-10, 90% value, 10% really, you know, my personality. You know, you saw my rant the other day about 13 things about air flight travel, you know, stop farting on planes, stuff like that, right? That was a little bit more of the personal side.
Yeah, that was funny.
But then there's like Facebook. I'm now kind of like 50-50 with Facebook.
That's fair.
50%, you know, personal stuff. I mean, I have our Jay Barrows page, right? But I also have my, you know, John Barrows, like me. And on that one, I'm probably on my Jay Barrows one, I'm more like 60-40, 60% value, 40% me. Whereas my personal Facebook, I'm probably flip that over. And then Instagram, I'm probably 50-50 on that one. And then Snapchat, I'm probably, you know, 70-30, where 70% personal, 30%, you know, business. I always try to add value, but I'm trying to give people behind the scenes on the Snapchat stuff, right? So I think it's a lot about, knowing who your audience is, to your point, making sure you're always adding value, and then understanding the platform you're on.
Yeah, that's true.
Just don't be that person, just to wrap things up here, because I know we both have a hard stop here, but just don't be that person on LinkedIn or any medium that every time I see your comment, it's no value add, right? Because eventually you're gonna be known for that. And if you're known for somebody who does nothing but troll and add no value, and if I look at your Twitter, if I look at your followers and I notice there's A, no engagement, and B, nobody does anything, your retweets are like two retweets or one like, that to me tells me you're not putting any value out there. And so it's a much bigger picture thing. That social brand building is a much bigger play than a short-term gain from it. So put in way more than, and ultimately you'll get it back. So before we hop off here, Morgan, any parting words of wisdom or anything like that you have for the audience?
My last piece of words here are: be who you are online, who are you in person. So I'm the same energetic person. I have the same values that I hold across my social media to when you meet me in person. And that's what you really want. Because when people meet me in person, they're like, oh, you're the same online. That's what you want. You don't want to be the person who's like all like positive and all this stuff. And then in person, like you're not that at all. Like, don't be like that.
Love it.
That's my thing.
Cool. All right. Well, everybody, thanks so much for chiming in today. Follow Morgan and me. We're trying to put out as much content as possible, and feel free to comment. But I will say, if you comment and it's no value, be careful, because I might remember your name and I got a bad memory. And when I remember your name for a negative reason, that's never a good thing. All right, everybody, make it a great week and make it happen.
Keep dialing, guys.
Later.